Hello and welcome to the show. We are here on Forza Horizon 4 today with a challenge, with some racing, as we are going to be doing a hill climb tournament, a 1v1 knockout style tournament where we take a variety of A-class cars and race them up the Needle Pass. I think that's what it's called. The twisty wiggly road. These cars, built at A-class, no rules on driveline, however they must weigh 2,000 pounds or more. And a couple of AI cars have crashed into us for good measure because apparently a Mercedes and a Golf wanted to play along. I am driving a Holden Tirana, hoping power, big tyres and fairly lightweight should do the trick. Up first, it is a Woody against a Civic. Couldn't really ask for two more different vehicles. The front-wheel drive Civic against a four-wheel drive, quite high-powered Woody. Shall we begin? Shall we see which of these cars is going to be the fastest up our mighty hill climb? Of course, the Ford is going to get a blinding start here off of the line. Unlikely to be as nice when it gets to the corners. It was raining a little while ago. It has currently stopped. Now, that will play into the Civic's favour a little bit, and this start does favour the Woody. It's quite a long run towards this first corner, but this is not a forgiving road. It is twisty, it is fairly low speed, there are some quite sudden drops if you get things wrong, and already we can see the Civic is starting to close in a little bit on the run up through these few corners. This is where the Woody might start to have some trouble here, although that is a big lead initially as we head up through the twisty sections. The Civic is catching, but where are you going to find a way to get past here? Woody actually takes a nice line for it. I thought it was going to wander a little bit wide, smoke billowing off the rear wheels from the car. The Honda spitting fire, of course. The Honda, the noisiest engine in the game, pretty much. Oh, Woody, again, this is a nasty turn, this one. Catches out a lot of cars. Woody with a little bit of tyre smoke, but not really lost too much time, and it's just about keeping the Civic at bay as they head around these next couple of corners. Oh, it's a little wide from the Woody, but the Civic is pretty much following that Ford through these turns, not quite able to make a move, not quite able to make any sort of advantage. This is where the Woody might be vulnerable. The Honda's having a look, it gives it a bump, tries to get to the inside. The Ford's going to have the acceleration here. There's just one more corner to go as we head around the final turn. The Civic's trying to get underneath. The Civic does get underneath. Who is going to win the run to the line? It's going to be the Honda. All of that work, all of that run. The Ford had a massive lead, but that final turn, the Civic got it done. This is our finish line here. The Civic made the pass stick. The Honda, the front-wheel drive Honda, that will go through. It's not quite over for the Woody. They can go through the Spanner final, but well done to the Honda. I didn't quite see that one coming. I thought the Woody would have the acceleration out of that corner. Not quite. An exciting, excellent battle on the run up the hill. So, I am up in heat number 2. My Holden is taking on an interestingly coloured Aston Martin. It should be an interesting matchup between these two cars. Both rear-wheel drive. I might have slightly bigger tyres. The Aston Martin may possibly be slightly lighter than me. While I tried to get my car down to the weight limit, I'm still 2,160 or so pounds. It is a better reaction. Slow reactions from me off of the line there. That is not very good. It's going to be some work to do. Who has got the better straight line speed? Now, unfortunately, AI traffic-wise, they will be a factor in this initial bit, but once we get into the drift zone, they will be ghost mode, so we can drive through them. This Volkswagen, for example, I can fly the Holden through. We get a little bit of oversteer on the mid-corner. The Aston Martin tried to get up the inside, actually ended up with a wheel on the grass and got very sideways. That didn't help. We'll draw alongside there as we make out or keep ourselves ahead. The Aston's trying to get underneath. Going to cover that, make it difficult for the car to find a way past. It looks more slidey, that Aston Martin, than my Tirana, which is good news to me. You really don't want. There's a little bit sliding, of course, from this. It's 350 horsepower, 400 torque here. So we are going to be able to slide the Holden around if I'm a little bit of a muppet. But on the whole, it's not a bad planted car, and that's what you need for this sort of thing. Oversteer loses you a heap of time around this course, especially in a 1v1 battle. All it takes is a car half opportunity to have a dive. We have got a nice little gap back to that Aston, though, as we head through this next corner. Don't wander out too wide on the exit. Pretty much all the cars here are going to be fitted with race tyres. You'll wander onto the gravel on the outside of a corner somewhere, even with a wheel or two, and that is going to cost you a lot of time. We have got one more corner to go here. The Aston Martin is a little too far back. The rain has started to fall now. The Aston a little bit too far back here as we run up across the finish line for the Tirana. We will go through the first round. The Aston gave us a little bit of a scare early on. It actually got a bloody good launch. The Tirana got going once we got off the line initially. We have a little bit more top end, I think, than the Aston Martin. And once we were ahead, it was difficult for the Aston to come back. I will make it through to the next round. The Aston still has a chance, though, via the Spanner final. Heat number 3. We have got the battle of the German cars. Mercedes 190E up against a BMW Z4. An unlikely pairing, however, they are going to be doing battle up the mountainside. Let's get this underway. I know the 190E is a bloody good handling car. I don't know much about the Z4 in terms of Horizon, so it's a very, very even start between the pair of them. Very even indeed as they come through this first long corner. Let's hope for not too much traffic interference. Still we go side by side, minding the Volkswagens, and now we're into the safe zone at least. BMW, I think, tried to cut back underneath, couldn't quite get it done. Mercedes will hold that position. Again, the BMW's having a look to the inside, although if you go for too much of these, you're just taking such a compromised line going for the overtake there. BMW tried, not quite the space as we head towards the twisties. The BMW does seem a little bit better, perhaps, through the corners as it works its way to the inside, just about. Mercedes slips and slides its way through the next corner. BMW's out very, very wide through there. That's a big slide. That's not going to help matters. This is what I said. Race-tired cars, a little bit damp around the place. You run wide on the exit of a corner, and that is going to put you in a world of trouble. Although BMW did get away with that fairly well. Oh, Mercedes is in lots more trouble. That's the corner that's caught out so many cars. That is it's one of those tight. It's a very nasty tightening radius corner. You look at it as you approach. You see how the angle of the corner, how you expect to be able to drive around it, and then it gets suddenly an awful lot tighter once you get around the midpoint. And Mercedes falls foul to that. Well, the Mercedes actually come back very, very well through these next couple of corners as we head up. BMW, a little bit of a slide. Mercedes actually absolutely nailed the brakes there, although you can be very fast into a corner, you're likely to be slow on the exit of it. We head up towards the final corner. Mercedes is not going to be able to do it. The BMW, that will take a victory. Mercedes will have to settle for second. Mercedes does still have an opportunity, though. Again, we'll go through to the Spanner final. BMW will join us in the next draw. So, as night begins to fall here, we have our next heat. An interesting mix-up. Again, typically the poor Hondas, the front-wheel drive Hondas, have found themselves against the all-wheel drive cars. The Mugen, that is going up against a Ford Fiesta rally car. These can drop down to A-Class. I think there's an engine swap that drops the PI down into A-Class. Not many upgrades on it, no, but, well, it's a full-on rally car taking on a hill. So, let's see what these two are going to be able to achieve. Will it be a similar story to the last time a Ford went up against a front-wheel drive Honda on this climb as we head away? The Fiesta gets a good launch. The CRX, though, is immediately fighting back as we run down towards this first corner. The Ford is unlikely to have that much top speed, but it will have acceleration out of the corner as we head into the first turn. Fiesta, I think, wanted to get underneath that CRX, had to change his mind mid-corner. That did not quite go according to plan. If it does start raining, the CRX could be in trouble. The all-wheel drive may well play its part as we weave our way through the first of the chicanes. CRX holding its position so far. Fiesta's having a look, might be able to get a drive, not quite. Again, the CRX covering that inside line. We head up through these next corners. I think the Ford's best, that sort of opportunity there is where the Ford wants to be in the right place to pounce. The CRX gets a little bit of understeer. In fact, the Ford is alongside, but it's too tight to a line through that corner. Not going to be able to make the acceleration needed. Now, this is where we saw the Mercedes go for a little bit of an explore on the outside. The Fiesta clobbers the barrier, gets away with it. The CRX was a little bit wide in all of that as well. Up towards our next corner we head. I'm trying to get my drone in the right place. I know this course roughly enough for drone flying. Still, the Honda continues to lead on the ascent here. Fiesta is a little too far back to try anything at this particular moment in time. We saw the Mercedes make big gains in a couple of corners by being brave, of course. The car in second place has got nothing to lose at this point, whereas the leader has got, well, everything to lose. The Fiesta is close, but is he going to be close enough to do much towards this final turn? I think all the Mugen has to do is hug that inside, and there's not much the Ford can do. There is nothing the Ford can do. It is going to be the Honda that goes through. The Fiesta is off down the mountain. The Ford, sadly, is out. Well, I say is out of the competition. No, they still stand a chance. But the Mugen goes through, and that's 2 times out of 2 for Honda versus Ford. Our penultimate heat features the first of our 2 Lotuses and the second of the Holden Tiranas. I mean, the Lotus is another one of those cars, not going to have much PI to work with, but of course it is a notoriously good handling, lightweight sports car. The Holden Tirana, a big old muscle car, who is going to be able to book a place into the next round. I mean, I'm rooting for the Tirana in general, although it would be interesting to see what the Lotus can do. Now, we have got, it's getting quite dark out here. The Aurora is around the place, and that makes life generally easier for seeing what on earth is going on. The Lotus doesn't have the rally lights, which is a little bit of a disappointment. Rally lights, always a good thing. Always a good thing indeed as we head up towards turn 1. So, top speed-wise, actually surprisingly evenly matched. The Tirana got a better launch, better reaction times, and so on. While the Lotus actually kind of brought it back a little bit on towards that first corner. I'd expect the Siege to be a little bit better on the brakes, although it's just running a tad bit too hot into the chicane. That gives the Tirana a little bit more comfortable margin than you might perhaps expect on this sort of course. I know I say the big, there's a fairly small Aussie muscle car, but still kind of big compared to, well, most normal British cars that you see around. It's not perhaps the first thought you have when it comes to a hill climb vehicle. However, they are surprisingly light. Both of these cars are down at about 2,100 pounds, which is not too much. And with those massive rear tyres they can get, it's 325s on the back of these, that makes for a lot of traction. So even with plenty of horsepower, they are able to get out of these corners very, very well indeed, as the green tinge of the Aurora fills our hill climb course. The Tirana continues to lead, and if anything is pulling away from that Lotus, we go glowing brakes. It is the fun of doing this at night time, while it is a little bit more difficult to film with the drone. It is quite interesting seeing the fire spitting and the brakes glowing as they run up this course. I think the Tirana's got it, barring any massive mistakes into this final corner. The Holden is going to take victory. That makes it 2 Holdens through to the next round. The Lotus, I got things wrong in one of the early chicanes and just couldn't quite recover from that. It was a big slide through the final corner. The Lotus will have to try and go through the Spanner final. Well, the competition is shaping up quite interestingly here. So it is time for our final heat. We have Honda S2000 up against a classic Lotus Esprit, and rather impressive. Let's be honest, this is a rather impressive start line scenery here. Can we make it a third Honda through to the next round, or will we get our first Lotus with a guaranteed place? Let's the racing commence. We know the S2000 is a good handling car. It does start higher up PI than the Lotus. I would perhaps expect the Lotus to be able to outdrag the Honda as we run up through this first corner. The Esprit is up alongside and will get the pass completed as we head now towards the first turn. The Esprit is having a look around the kind of a long way round the Honda, very, very sideways. That is not particularly what you want. Oh, and now it started raining. That's definitely not what you want, as the S2000. You've already got a bit of an oversteery car to start seeing that. Oh, the Honda is struggling a little bit through that chicane. The Esprit is dancing its way nicely up here. Yeah, sudden rainfall. We've actually got away with as much of this climb with minimal amounts of rainfall. But yeah, now it is starting to get a little bit so. It might take a little while before it gets sort of fully damp on the circuit. But the S2000 is certainly struggling for grip a little bit more back there. We're going to see a bit sideways stuff. Not that time around, but it is quite the long way back from the Esprit. Oh, the Esprit's that little wide. Yeah, I mean, you can have a good car. It's still easy to make small mistakes. This track is punishing. You know, a tiny missed braking point, hell, just a little bit too much power can easily see you in a lot of trouble. We've seen wheels on the dirt are going to cause issues, and clonking into the crash barriers, well, clonking past the crash barriers is a problem here. Yeah, the S2000 not really able to do all that much about catching the Esprit as we head around the penultimate corner. Just one more turn to go for the classic Lotus. A good showing from the Lotus. Certainly a car to, although a little bit wide out of the final corner, cursed the commentator a bit there. That'll be across the line for the Lotus. The S2000 a little bit further back. We won't see 3 Hondas through to the next round. I say a little bit one-sided race. Once the Lotus got to the lead, the S2000 had a couple of wobbly moments early on, and then just couldn't regain that back. So yeah, Esprit that will go through. So, we move on to our quarterfinals. There's an AI car freaking out on the bridge. Brilliant start. I have been drawn up against the Lotus Esprit, which I'm not actually all that sure about. Got the Z4 against the Civic. The other Tirana is up against the CRX. I'm hoping I can possibly beat the Lotus. It's not going to be the easiest thing. I think I can probably get to the first corner first. I guess technically second corner because we've got the long sweeping corner coming up first. I think I can probably outrun the Esprit. I suspect the Lotus is going to outturn us. It's whether I can defend. Sure enough, I got to the first corner first as well. That's the important thing. We will stretch our legs a little bit here, and then begins probably the defence, because I am expecting that Esprit to turn very, very well. It's a little bit strange, because I guess you're driving around such technical corners, you might not be so used to having to thread the cars through. But the Tirana feels quite understeery through a lot of this course. Again, I'm hugging that inside. I don't actually want to... It's a slightly slower line, but it's a line that makes it a lot more difficult for the Esprit to find a way past when you are essentially hugging the inside. Ooh, that might give a gap. Don't think it's quite enough. We are going to make the widest Tirana I possibly can on the run up here. Just see Esprit lights bobbing up in the background here. Yeah, we are going to have to be, I think, quite the defensive car. It's the advantage you get, of course, with running the slightly higher powered machine, if you like. It's not bad at all through the corners. Esprit is still there, ready to pounce. It may well have a crack into the final couple of turns. Now, I don't want to run too wide here. That's where I was afraid it might have a go. Now, we can run a little bit wider on the exit. Ooh, although that's across the dirt, and that's bobbly across. I'm amazed I got the power down through all of that. We're going to run wide on the exit. I fear the Esprit. Oh, Esprit's not close enough. I was fully expecting the Esprit to be right there with its nose up the inside. It didn't do it. We're around the final corner. Tirana makes it. Tirana makes it through. We had to defend in the midsection. We had to defend quite heavily. I didn't see... I was expecting the Esprit at a slightly different place. I don't know whether it maybe just got a little bit of oversteer out of the corner or just made a little mistake, or whether I just got some speed in the Tirana I wasn't expecting. We did it! The Tirana progresses onwards. The Lotus, well, we'll have to try and make it through the Spanner final. Up next, we have got the return of the Civic. That is going to be fighting up with the BMW Z4 as the sun begins to rise. We have just started raining, so that should be fun. Don't know if that's going to favour either of the cars particularly. We know the Civic's very, very good in the turns. We know the BMW seem pretty good overall, although hard to tell. Don't know how it relates to any of the other cars. The Z40 is going to get off that line much, much better. The Civic's actually got a hell of a lot of speed coming up towards this first corner. The BMW doesn't have a chance to try and even defend that. Civic is going to go straight around the outside. Traffic car will ping through. A little bit of laggy collision. Don't worry about that. We're into the drift zone now, so there will be no traffic interference, and the Civic will lead as the rain continues to fall here. Sometimes you get very short showers. Sometimes you'll go into a full-on rainstorm. We'll have to wait and see. Lightning storm, how this one pans out. And the Civic is likely to be potentially a little bit understeer. You see, well, that's front-wheel drive and rear-wheel drive for you in one shot. Civic understeering its way out of the corner. Z4 oversteering and wiggling its way, trying to put the power down. The BMW, again, a wheel on the dirt, not quite where you want to be with that car. The BMW is closing here on the back of the Honda, has a look underneath, but that's not quite going to be enough space. And again, when you dive to that tighter line, you end up that little bit slower. Civic's very, very wide. Civic's very wide indeed. The BMW will pounce. The Honda's not given up, actually, despite being stuck out wide. Almost got enough of a drive. There goes that front-wheel drive understeer from the Honda. Almost kept that one, surprisingly, despite being so far out wide. Civic's having a look around the outside. Unless you can cut back on the exit, I think that's going to be a difficult one to make work. Now it's the Honda, although the Honda was in a similar situation like this on its first round. A big dive at the final corner would make it work, and we are now coming up to that final turn. Is the Civic going to be able to have a look? The BMW is wise to that, covers the inside. The Z4 will do it. A little mistake from the Civic. I don't know where the Civic's got the wrong side of the finishing line. I mean, it doesn't matter because either way it's lost. That's, again, front-wheel drive understeer for you. That went a long way the wrong side of the finish line. BMW will take victory. A little mistake from the Honda was enough to, well, I say cost it that race, but certainly gave the opportunity to the BMW. We have our second semi-finalist. Well, the weather's certainly got a lot worse here. Yeah, it's not particularly pleasant as the purple Holden is going to be taking on the Mugen. We've got power versus handling pretty much here. Don't know who the rain is going. Ah, we've got a rainbow. Have we got a double? No. Oh, the rainbow goes onto the course. First one to get to the rainbow wins, I think. Kind of ish. Just race up the mountain. Good luck. They are both off the line. Actually, very good initial launch from that CRX. It had the Holden for a little while. That is a very impressively fast starting little Honda right there. It's going to go pull on the... I don't want to race the CRX. I don't want to race the CRX if it's managing to pull on the Holden down the straight. The Holden is up the inside. I think the Civic was not expecting the Holden to quite be there as they rub paint through the first corner, although I would be worried in that Tirana. It's going to be a defence round here. The advantage it has is maybe the CRX will struggle to put its power down out of these corners. You know, that front-wheel drive understeer we saw a little bit with the Civic. Like that, for example, might cause the Mugen some difficulty. Although the rain doesn't look like we're going to get a full-on thunderstorm. It might dry up a little bit. It can dry pretty damn fast around here sometimes, and that may work a little bit more in someone's favour. We're still not really sure. The Tirana with a little bit of oversteer. The CRX actually got quite a bit of work to do. I was kind of surprised. After that initial launch, I was thinking the CRX was... CRX very, very deep under brakes. CRX very deep under brakes. Nearly in the fence. Does not quite go as wide as we have seen, but and is not ideal here, and that's going to put it even further back as we head towards these next twisty corners. I mean, that was a big opportunity. There's a big turn to make up some time if you are needing to. Bravery and everything through there, and I think that Honda is in a little bit of trouble here. The Honda is a little too far back, unless there is a big mistake or a very big oversteer moment from the Tirana. I can't see the CRX managing to make this time up as we head around the final corner. The CRX cannot do it. The Holden, that will go through. The CRX will have to fight through that spanner final. A good race. A good race. I'm amazed by the Honda's straight line speed off of the line. That was incredibly impressive for a front-wheel drive car. Once it got into the twisty bits, the Tirana put up a good fight, and the CRX, yeah, did not have an answer. Well, it is safe to say the spanner final is a bit of a mad idea here. We have got all 9 of the losing cars, whichever point they went out, they are here. The winner, they will make it into the semi-finals, into the last 4. Just checking there are no cars coming, because it's going to be a difficult one to get started. Everyone's going to have to hold on to just about everything here as we get off. And underway is a fast start from the Woody. It's a good start from the Fiesta rally car, as you would expect. The Aston Martin also getting off the line pretty well. The Woody is making an absolute break for it. The rain is pouring down. It is raining again. That is going to help the all-wheel drive cars. The Woody makes it to turn 1 first. The CRX is desperately trying to make its way up the order. They're 3 wide. The Lotus are making the most of an opportunity. It will go down the outside of everybody and claim that second place. This helps the Woody immensely. The more... One's everywhere back here. The Civic's almost rolled over. It's chaos for second. The Woody's enjoying... Where is the Civic's going to visit the sheep? The Aston Martin's back to second. The Lotus is fighting there with 3 wide. Once more, back in the middle of the pack. The Esprit is at the rear of this, just watching everything unfold. The Exige continues. Oh, they're 5. That's not where you go 5 wide, guys. It doesn't really work. 3 wide again. Mercedes 190's actually done a really good job of working its way through the pack. The Aston Martin's to the inside. Oh, we've lost a Lotus. Lotus down. I've lost a drone. Quick, get the drone back on the course. Lotus is falling off. The CRX is up to second now. 190E's to third. The something's at the back's recovered. So see what the blue thing at the back was is recovered back on there. The Woody is absolutely running away with this. Managing to stay out of trouble is so important here. It is pulling away at the front. Oh, the S2000's at the back having some trouble there. This battle, the biggest battle going on here is for second place. Still, the Civic's wide. The Civic's through the barrier, almost off the mountainside. It's going to come down to the CRX versus the Aston Martin for second. The Woody's going to win. The Woody will make it through. It's going to be the Aston Martin second, CRX third. Fiesta just pips the 190, I think, although that was immensely close back there. My drone didn't have the best of angles. What a mad race. The S2000 has a bad time. That was a very slidey car running up there in quite the wet. Yeah, there's not the best of time. I don't know where the Civic went all sorts of places for all of that. So, the fact it stayed on the road, I'm amazed. Lotus was second for a while. That fell off the mountain at one point. Yeah, 9-car melee. 9-car spanner final. Very good fun. So the first of our semi-finals is on the grid and ready to go. The Holden Tirana is taking on the Ford Woody. An unusual Ford versus Holden battle, but there we go. The rain is starting to fall. The all-wheel drive Woody we're expecting to lead from the off. We're expecting it to get the launch here as we get the first semi-final underway. Sure enough, it's a very, very quick start from that Woody. It flies off towards the first corner here. The question is, can it build up enough of a lead that when we get to the twisty sections, the Holden can't catch it? Can it defend as well as we go through these corners? Because, well, it is probably the fastest accelerating car here, but we've seen it struggle already when it gets a bit twistier as we head through these first few corners. The rain is likely to help that Woody with its, well, the traction, basically, the all-wheel drive traction out of some of these corners. The Tirana might be sliding around a little bit more. The Woody perhaps can get going as we see it's actually sliding from both of them. The Woody out a little bit wide on the exit. The Tirana sliding through the corner. The gap is closing. The gap is coming down between the pair of them here. And this is what the Tirana needs to do. It needs to continue to reel in the Woodies as we get to these technical sections. It's difficult to pass. This is a very tough circuit to find ways past, but it needs to be close enough, and indeed that Holden is really, really closing the gap. The Woody's quite wide. The Woody's very, very sideways through that corner. There's a little bump from the Holden. The Woody is still having a look on the outside. It doesn't have the grip to hold it there. The Tirana leads for the first time in this race with not too many corners to go. But will it continue to have the grip through these hairpins? Will it still have the acceleration as they fly through this next corner? The Woody's very close behind, busy having a look. Can it find a way past? Can it draw alongside? No, it can't quite do it. Up towards this next turn, the Holden's going to cover that inside line. The Woody's having a look, but it doesn't have the grip to get underneath. It's going to be on the outside for the final turn. Holden defends heavily into this last corner. Will the Holden slide? Not too much. The Woody's trying. There's nowhere to go. It practically pushes the Tirana across the line, but the Woody just cannot quite do it. In the end, does not quite have the grip in the twisty sections. Fantastic race between the pair of them there. Yeah, the Woody off the line can make the most of that launch, can pull away, but in the end, the Tirana, that was just a little bit too fast when it came to the technical sections. One Holden is through to the final. Well, I am certainly hoping to be able to make it an all-Holden final, but to do that, I must try and beat the BMW Z4. We are both rear-wheel drive here, as the rain continues to fall. I kind of think I fancy my chances a little bit more against the BMW than I did against the Ford, to be honest. So, yeah, this might be a good opportunity for me. I don't really know how fast that Z4 is going to be. Off the line, it gets a slightly quicker reaction. I get a much better second phase of the launch. So we are going to lead through the first corner. We're going to lead towards the first of the proper hairpins, if you like. And then it's going to be a case of how much more grip does the Z4 have than the Tirana. We're expecting it to be pretty good. Let's face it. If it's got to this stage, it's going to be pretty damn fast through the corners. We saw it close on the Civic and whatnot while fighting that. I might have to make wide Tirana once more. I don't want to leave too many options on the inside. We're going to slip and slide our way a little bit on the exit. There is that BMW. It's looking around. It's sniffing around, trying to find a way past. I want to be able to look behind because I want to know where I need to defend. But on a course like this, you look behind for a split second too long, and it is very easy to suddenly end up in a lot of trouble. It's still sniffing. I get a bit of oversteer. I'm hoping I've got enough acceleration to get away with that in a couple of places. Now, I'm going to be a little cautious in here because I'd rather get that good line on the exit, and indeed, we can keep ahead of the Z4 through there. Now, where is that Z4? You see, this is where we do have a little bit of straight line speed. We can excel, we can pull away, and we have the safety. I don't have to worry so much about covering the inside. I probably should have gone a little bit closer to the inside there, though. The second time I've ended up out over that dirt. The Z4 followed me, though. That helps me out. We have got a couple more corners to go. Make sure there is no space on the inside. If he gets to the inside on the exit, that's fine, because he'll have to go the long way round for the final turn. I don't think the Z4 is close enough here. I don't think the Z4 is going to be close enough to do very much. It won't. It slides to the final turn. It's going to be an all Holden final. The Tiranas. We were both pushed very hard. We were both pushed very, very hard in those semi-finals. The Z4 was right there the entire way. One of the hill climbs, one of the hills towards the end of there, I could just pull that little bit of a gap, and we were safe when it came to those final couple of corners. Z4 was just not able to dive, although it was basically on our bumper, leaving the final turn. Fantastic race. Absolutely fantastic race. And it will be Holden versus Holden. Well, it wouldn't be a final without some weird, glitchy, laggy cars going on around the place, but here we are. We have got the two Holdens lined up on the grid. Mine is a little bit more powerful, the purple car is a little bit lighter. We're not talking by all that much, both built slightly differently. I'm going to make sure mine is in first gear here. Yeah, the Tirana was apparently a very good choice of car when it came to hill climb. Which one of our two is going to be better? I have the inside for, I guess, technically the second corner if we are still side by side along the way. We both launch. It's very, very even between the pair of us as we get off the line. Purple car will be to the inside here, but I'm probably on the inside for perhaps the more important corner. I'm trying not to use too much steering angle through there so as not freak the car out. Here we go, into the drift zone, through the Mercedes. Oh, a little bit of lag collision between the pair of us. Not what we wanted. Thank you, Forza. That's given me some work to do here. We're going to have to try and find a way past. I think it's actually the first time I've been behind the car. Purple car gets a big slide. Where are we going to be able to? Now, we've got a good amount of speed. We might be able to sneak up the inside here. No, we can't do that. There is no space. Both are sliding. Might be the most I've stood my car around, and it's bloody stopped raining now. Are we going to have a look here? No, we're going to be too far back. It's kind of a wait for there to potentially be a mistake from the vehicle ahead and see if we can pounce anywhere there. But even so, that is not going to be the easiest of things. Now, we're seeing a lot of cars out very wide through here. We're both going for a very similar line. It's that. Yeah, that's a very, very similar line for both of us, and I can't really gain any sort of advantage. I'm a little bit wobbly. I'm too far back, I fear, up here. The other Tirana has got a good run. I'm going to have to be brave somewhere with the speed. We hug the inside. The other Tirana was actually a little bit wide, slightly missed the apex. That's given us a sniff of a chance here, but where are you going to send it? Where are you going to have a big look up the inside? There's not going to be space there. There might be into the final corner. Can we cut back to the inside? Can we go around the outside of the last turn? I want to dive underneath. I want to try and get the drive. We're trying our best. Oh, we don't do it. Oh, the purple Tirana will take it. The purple Tirana gets it. I fought as hard as I could and tried to get alongside anywhere we could. It did not quite work. It is going to be victory. It's a 1-2 for the Holdens, let's face it. It is a 1-2 for the Holdens. The purple Tirana will take it. We almost did it. There was that one corner where we had a slightly running wide purple car, but I couldn't do it in the end. And there we go. Fully overgassed to celebrate. It's a lot of fun. This road for hill climbing is an immense amount of fun. The Tirana is an excellent choice of car for running up this in A-Class when your vehicle must weigh more than £2,000. Slightly annoyed. I say slightly annoyed. Couldn't take victory. It was a very good race. A very, very close race. I threw everything I could at it. But trying to get past, once you fall behind that little bit, trying to get past without there being a big mistake somewhere does make life very, very difficult indeed. That, though, is going to be it for this video. Thank you all very much for watching. And until next time, goodbye.